Hi there, our special guest today is Stamping Up Sherry.
Hi there, today we're going to do a technique called Ink Resist. We're going to use this, one of my favorite stamps, from the Winter Mini called French Flair. We're also going to use a product called Versamark. It's a watermark stamp pad. We're going to cover French Flair with the watermark, making sure you get it really wet. We're going to use Whisper white cardstock. Turn our stamp over, match up the corner, press down firmly. Make sure you press evenly over the entire stamp. And remove your cardstock. Now I've pre-cut all my paper. I'm using 5 by 3 3/4 of the white, a half of 8.5 by 11, which turns out to be 8.5 by 5.5 of the Bashful Blue, and 5 1/4 by 4 of the Lavender Lace. Alright, now that I have got my Versamark stamp on my white, it's really hard to see, you can barely see it at all. I'm going to put it in my embossing buddy. I'm going to cover it with a clear embossing powder. You can go ahead and dump the whole thing on. As long as it's covered, it doesn't matter. Whatever doesn't stick to the paper, you can reuse. I'm going to shake off the extra. Now you can actually see some of the stamp come out there. And dump back whatever I don't use back into my jar. That's the great thing about these embossing buddies. And I'm finished with this, so I'm just going to set it to the side. Now I'm going to use my heat gun, and I'm actually going to emboss this. Now it's really hard to emboss because you're doing a clear, which is going to turn out to be white on white. But you'll notice that it looks kind of grainy, almost a sugary. And when you emboss it, it turns nice shiny white. So you'll know that it's ready. Now if it gets a little hot, just turn it around and use the other corner to hold on to. I get lots of comments on people saying they're not quite sure if they're embossing correctly. If it gets a little dotted and it's not a nice solid image, then you probably just haven't heated it long enough. Just let the embosser run over it a little bit longer. Okay, and then when you're finished and you've got it all embossed, you can put that away. And now we're going to use the ink resist part. We're going to use Perfect Plum and a sponge. Now you can use a dauber, whatever kind of stamping sponge that you like. And just kind of get it all wet with your ink pad. And sponge it everywhere. You'll notice that your stamped image really pops out. I'm using a darker purple because I'm going to use this for an Easter card. And I just wanted it to really have those nice Easter colors. Now it takes a little bit of work to get it all nice and smooth and blended. Once usually what I do is just kind of get the whole section that I want colored first, and then I'll go back and blend it to make it nice and smooth. Sometimes it can be hard when you're using a sponge that has a shape to it to not have that shape being repeated in the image. You don't want little square blotches of your ink. So you just kind of keep working it till it looks nice and smooth. And if you get any purple on your image and you're thinking, oh my goodness, that's going to look awful, when you're all finished mixing in all your ink, you just take a clean part of the sponge and go over the white spots. Clear them off. And then they just go right back to nice shiny white. Okay, now that I have my outside of my card all glued together, I'm going to do my greeting on the inside. Now for today, because it's so close to Easter, I've decided to use Never Ending Joy. And I'm just going to use a black Stampin' Spot and Easter Blessings. Just going to make sure that the stamp has lots of ink on it. I'm going to center it on the inside of my card, straight down. And there we've got a beautiful Easter card. Now that I've showed you one way to make this beautiful simple card into an Easter card, here's another way where you can use the exact same stamp and the same paper that I've used, the same sizes and everything, and turn it into a slightly different card. I've turned it the opposite direction. And I've used a lighter ink to do the sponging. I've used a light blue, a bashful blue, and I've also used a tiny little bit of the purple, the lavender lace, just to give it the same tone as the paper. And I've used an oval punch and punched it in the corner there and put the word Imagine. And one of the major things that I really like about making my own handmade cards is also making matching envelopes. How neat is it to open the mailbox and have this beautifully decorated envelope waiting for you to open? So I'm going to take the little bow from the Never Ending Joy stamp set, and I'm going to use the same Perfect Plum ink, and I'm just going to put a bow on the front and one on the back. The other very important thing to do when you're making homemade cards is to put your name and the date on the back. Everyone needs to know that you made that card. Give yourself the credit. You deserve it. Happy stamping!